We can't say the future without AI. I mean, there's no way around it. 50% of workers now believe AI is going to improve their experience. When I come into the meeting room, I need a way to incorporate my AI with what's going on in the meeting. It's almost a bring your own AI type of a concept. Most of what we do in our day-to-day is going to change significantly.
Hear the latest AV trends and predictions in this episode of Crestron's Smarter Spaces podcast on your preferred podcast platform.
On this episode of ResiWeek, we talk Sonos' Era Pro and CEDIA advocacy, as well as AI marketing. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek. This is ResiWeek, episode 458, entering our Pro era. Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek, your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv, and this week I'm pleased to be joined by two of my good friends. First, we have Mr. Joseph Whitaker. He's the VP of Commercial at Origin Acoustics. How you doing, Joseph?
I am amazing. Glad to be back on. I've ditched you guys a couple of times recently, but I'm back. I'm back with a vengeance.
It's hurt. It was hurtful. I cried.
Sorry.
Then I've got my good friend, Mr. Mitchell Klein. He's the VP of Business Strategy over at CEDIA. How you doing, Mitch?
I'm doing fabulous, and it is great to be back with you and Joe again.
Oh, it's fantastic. We're going to have a great show. We're going to kick it off with a story that comes to us from Residential Systems. The Sonos Era 100 Pro is going to ship in January of 2025. It brings a simplified setup with PoE Plus, as well as a bunch of mounting options via their pro-grade mount, customizable control with zoning, all the jazz. Exclusively going to be sold in pairs through select Sonos partners that specialize in professional installation. It's essentially an Era that's an Era 100, but it's a Pro version, so it's powered over PoE or PoE Plus, which is fantastic. You can mount it to the ceiling, the walls, etc., yada, yada, yada. You know how this works. This is a big move for them because this is one of their first tangible products that is specifically designed for the commercial environment. Joe, let me start with you on this. I'm really excited about this product, even though I'm not one of the select Sonos partners. But I'm excited for this product because I have seen Sonos products in hotel lobby bars, in doctor's offices, dentist offices, retail environments, a variety of places installed at a variety level of proper installation, we'll say. But I've also seen a bunch of residential stuff installed all over the places, typically very poorly. Does a product like this that is going to be somewhat easily obtainable and yet designed specifically for commercial, easy to use, etc., all that jazz, is this going to take all of those kind of prosumer customers, that dentist office that has a Denon amp under the desk and it's wired to 19 speakers? Is this going to allow all of those, really commercial light locations to easily go to a proper Pro system?
Yes, and probably a little more. So if you really read into it, you pay attention to the architecture, there, besides it being PoE, right? And we already know that their speakers are ultra efficient. Their amplifiers are super efficient. And now you're talking about, 32 watts, 64 watts, up to 86 usable watts in PoE++. You're talking about there's actual wattage going over the cable now. But you read a little deeper, they're going to give you an easier way to pair additional ones together for larger groups, right?
Yep.
So now a ResiMercial style integrator can go up against some of the heavy hitters, not just in the doctor's office, dentist's office. We're talking bars, restaurants, hotel lobbies, and saying, what, we'll string 32 of these together for you off of one network switch. All powered together, and we're going to put in a Lutron bridge that has a volume control called a Pico, and we're done. Like, it's going to be that simple, where they're just going to sign on to something like Soundtrack, your brand, or Sound Machine, have all the music on a calendar, and all they have to do is control the volume with a Pico remote, and they're done. All the licensed music, they're complete. No need for the electricians. I mean, the story goes on and on. And to me, being, the manufacturer side, this is a perfect experiment for me to watch of a brand that's very big, that has made some mistakes in the last 18 months or so, but really kind of looking at, okay, we know the headphones were a flop. We know this was a flop. We know we put too much more money into the new soundbar.
I'm not sure they've officially said that yet.
Well, I officially
Just
did.
To be clear.
Why do I need?
I don't know. The headphones, I wouldn't call them a flop.
That attached to
product.
It's a great product. Don't get me wrong. The use case,
it won
I
one of the
totally,
most innovative products of the year.
I don't understand it. Why I would want any personal audio attached to a Sonos system. It just hooks to my phone. Like, why? Anyways, yeah, I digress. But now, they're still willing to take those chances, which to me is very, very impressive, right? They're still willing to break down some barriers. And for them to do it, and all of us guys to watch and go, okay, before we pull the trigger on anything, let's see how this pans out, because I do love this idea. I really like this concept. I would hope that they expand upon it a little more. And I'm willing to bet you're going to be able to add some wireless subwoofers to this and all the other Sonos magic that comes along with it. So I honestly really like this idea. I am, me, Matt, I've had a long back and forth up and down with Sonos for many, many years. I have to give them big this for this one. This one I really like. This is a great idea for them.
It looks fantastic. I'm waiting
and their
to
new
see
mounting system. Big thumbs up.
I'm waiting to see who the first person is who uses these as rear channels, because they'll also be perfect.
And the latency will go even smaller than the almost non-existent latency Sonos has. Yeah,
you got it. Mitch, is this going to, from an industry standpoint, is this going to open the door to acceptance of PoE speakers? Because they have existed in the past. I'm waiting for more and more to come down the pipeline, but this seems like the perfect experiment or market test to say, hey, we can make a PoE speaker that is affordable and sounds amazing. And I'm guesstimating that it will sound amazing, but it's a Sonos, it's going to sound pretty decent. Is this going to be kind of the benchmark that shows other manufacturers that, hey, you should be looking at doing some PoE?
Yeah. Well, first of all, yes, I'm sure they're going to sound good. I mean, we've all been using Sonos, and I'm sure they sound good enough, but probably a little better than good enough.
Yep.
Yeah. So say goodbye to 70 volt requirements. I mean, you're going to basically be able to overcome the limitations attached to, to just running regular line level out to speakers. And yeah, absolutely. I think this is a great idea. It's been tried before, and I think it's a technology that our industry's sort of shied away from. Not sure why, but now that we're aware of the capability, I mean, my God, I'm trying to remember some of the names, some of the companies. Could be 15 years ago they were doing PoE speakers.
Netstream.
Distributing. What? That's it.
Netstreams did them.
Joe, that's what I was thinking of, Netstreams. There
was a couple commercial manufacturers too.
Yeah, not a new idea, but perhaps a groundbreaking application for it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch and see what they do. Maybe someone from Sonos could send me a pair to play with. Who knows? All right. This comes to us moving on from Residential Tech Today. A good friend of the show, Mr. Jeremy Glowacki. CEDIA shares progress in its advocacy for integrators worldwide. I say this with almost every story, but I sincerely mean it with this one. Go read this article. Don't skim it. Read the entire thing. If you're in this business, go read it. CEDIA has been for years doing a bunch of things on the advocacy level, and not just, stopping bills that were going to restrict our ability to work in somebody's home, pulling network cable or something. But they're doing a lot to get technology integrators recognized at a federal level in the U.S., the Freedom to Invest in Tomorrow's Workforce Act, input for the Natural Electrical Code, They're doing work in Australia and New Zealand, industry recognition in the UK, et cetera, et cetera. Mitch, since you're directly around this, even back when I was on the board, I would state multiple times that the biggest thing that no one talks about that CEDIA does is government relations and advocacy. Tell us a little bit more about what CEDIA has been doing, where it's going in the future, and what people can expect from this.
Yeah, let me grab my soapbox. I thought I had it here somewhere.
I already stood on it for you.
1999. Yeah, I'm that old. Yeah, 1999. Incoming president. I launched the Government Affairs Initiative, and that was because there was a law going down in my neighboring Rhode Island. I'm in Massachusetts. That essentially would have put all of our members out of business. And actually, I should correct this thing. The advocacy that we do at the state level, these are not new laws, because if it's a new law coming in, it's going to go through this major process. Usually it's a 1 or 2 paragraph amendment shoved into an existing law, which pretty much no one would really know about unless, of course, you're CEDIA, and we have Darren and we have volunteers that are actually monitoring this on a pretty regular basis. So this is the most basic area that we've been on for many, many years, which is, monitoring what's going on at the state level. Not sexy, not exciting, and unfortunately, people haven't valued it the way it really should be. But next comes I'll say the double-edged sword of national concerns. Number one is we know there's a shortage of workforce. And we're saying, okay, how are we going to get more people, get young people into our industry? And the problem with that is we're not a recognized industry. The 3-legged stool, we got to recognize by a government, we've got to be recognized by the consumer, and then we also have to be recognized by our adjacent trades. We're working on the government. We had a government advocacy day in March, whereby our members made appointments and basically stormed the U.S. government, meeting with all of the staffers, which, by the way, it's the staffers you want to meet with, not the actual legislators, because the staffers are the ones that say, here, vote for this. Right. Anyway, I can keep going on, but the important thing is that the recognition gets to the point of being approved in the 10-year or every 10 years when the Department of Labor kind of looks at the job community and says, okay, what kind of new work is out there? And as of right now, depending on where you are, who your insurance company is, you're a telephone worker, telephone repairman, you're climbing poles, or you're an electrician or an electrician's apprentice, none of which describe what we do and also jack up the insurance rates. Yeah. And of course, doesn't give visibility into our careers. So we're really pushing hard. We're looking for more and more volunteers to help with this communication, to get the Department of Labor to acknowledge that, I guess what we're calling a technology integrator is actually a real job, which will A, drop your insurance rates, but B, at the same time, be able to establish a workforce. So now you can go into tech schools, high schools, trade schools, colleges, whatever, whatever it's appropriate, and be able to start training people at much younger ages that this is a viable career, just like being a plumber is. And we're making good progress on that, but we always need volunteers stepping up for it.
Yeah, it's a great point. We are a computer repair store.
You are.
Is our insurance classification. It was either that or an electronics store that does not install. Very interesting.
Yep. Just let me toss one more thought out there, because, I mentioned insurance. And by the way, if you're a CEDIA member and you're watching this, you obviously have insurance. You need to check with the CEDIA's insurance package. We don't get any benefit out of it, but you do. I can tell you, meeting with the team that does this insurance, they're saving companies tens of thousands of dollars per year on their insurance. Now imagine what will happen once we actually get that Department of Labor designation.
Is that U.S. only, Mitch, still?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's U.S. only right now.
Uh-huh.
Come on in. The weather's fine.
Yeah. Join the list of people recruiting me. How about that?
Yeah, I was just talking to Matt about that the other day.
Yep. Joey, how do we go about marketing this message to current members and prospective members, because everybody talks ROI with their membership, and this is the real ROI, in my opinion. This is the big benefit of you joining and supporting the org, is the advocacy side.
Well, first, before I jump on that, I'm going to double down on what Mitch just said, in that when we had our company, when I had mine, you only had two choices in the insurance or any other of those type of categories. You were telco, you were electrician, or you were security. So your plan were really hot electricity, or you're in life safety devices, which both of those jack your contractor insurance way up. So he's entirely right. So by backing this, you may see an ROI down the road just on the insurance, just on those type of things. But the problem has always been, it's not necessarily that they don't understand, which Darren has been a one-man band for a while. He's not really anymore. Marketing didn't really know how to, properly take that message forward. But the problem is, this is like unrealized capital gains, right? You know you made some money, but you don't see the money. That's what government affairs is. It's not an immediate ROI to your pocket. You don't see it on a day. It's not the 75 cents I want to save on a gallon of milk. It's an entirely different story. It's an intangible ROI, but it covers many, many different bases, not just in cost savings on things like insurance, but, you look at certain areas of the United States where unionized electricians are required. You have to have these certifications. My area is a perfect example, because there's a difference between out of county, in county in St. Louis, and in city of St. Louis, where a CEDIA guy would have to go to City Hall and actually get a smaller mini version of an electrician's license to actually be able to pull low voltage cable. It's me and Matt, you actually have agreed with me on this in the past. This is in government affairs. You start city, you go state, then you go federal. Well, the magical people at CEDIA figured out a way to do that in Indiana and Indianapolis already. Those two kind of got done. So now it's national. But on the ROI, it's the fact that all the other doors it opens up after, taking advantage of the government programs to educate your staff on the government's dollar, to educate yourself on the government's dollar. All of that money that's available to electricians unions, plumbers unions, carpenters unions, they're not currently available to CEDIA, because CEDIA first has to have an occupancy name. They have to have an occupation name, right? And from there, it can go into all the other programs, which a couple of them were actually mentioned in this article. I cross my fingers for all the people that are out there still integrating, that we do see this growth, because the first one, Matt, you were still on the board when entry-level training programs started. And then it got, accredited by the state of Indiana. It's that growth. You will see the reward, but number one, you have to be a member. Number two, you have to help. Like you have to help. It's not going to get done on its own.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. So if you currently don't volunteer and you need a spot to, connect with Darren.
You can reach out to me. I'll put you in touch with Darren, whichever group. But
literally call anybody. They'll help you.
The biggest ROI you can get on this is keeping your job in your company.
Yes. When things change, as they do often in government, Mitch mentioned the 1991. I had my company in Texas when the Texas one happened. I remember that, Mitch. It was like if the law would have passed, no integrator could put an IP camera in the entire state of Texas. You better believe I was on the footsteps of the Capitol in Austin when that was going down with Bill Scare and many others. And it happens. And that's what the advocacy group is all about, is about stopping that. And everybody knows our company's massively involved in that. Nick was with you guys in Washington, and our actually House attorney is on the working group with Darren.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, gentlemen, let's hit our last story of the day. Excuse me. This comes to us from CE Pro. It's a opinion piece from David Chance. AI is a great tool to boost smart home sales. You just need to know where to use it. Go read through the article. He's talking about using, first he explains how to engineer your prompts to try and get the desired outcomes that you're doing when you're using AI. And then he gets into some of the benefits as far as streamlining your time and your processes, filling in some skills gaps as far as SEO writing, graphic design, video production, and possibly as far as even making a virtual showroom for your company, and then lays out a roadmap for getting started. Joe, let me start with you on this, and then we'll come to Mitch. I love AI. I also love to rag on AI, but personally, I use it in both of my companies almost daily in some way, shape, or form. My concern when I read articles like this is it paints a very glossy picture that you can jump into AI and create a bunch of usable things, whether it's SEO, whether it's content, whether it's graphics, that it's not that hard, when in our reality, it is quite challenging to get something that doesn't look like AI. We've always had a marketing issue in our industry. I get concerned that dealers are going to jump into AI and then get frustrated and do even less. Is that a valid concern, or do they just need to play with it?
They need to play with it. I mean, it is a valid concern, but they also need to play with it because, people are thinking because it's AI, I can talk to it like a person, right? And the way you're typing, you can't, right? You've got to phrase things specific. You have to be very detailed, very precise to actually get what you want, out of it, whether it be, write me a marketing bulletin, write me an email signature even, right? You have to be really, really, really detailed or you're not going to get much out of it, especially on the art and the images side. And one of the biggest arguments out there is about people claiming, AI work as their own, whether it be, a podcast script or a blog or whatever. And I are on the side to say, who cares? You guys have been using crowdsourcing for years. This is just crowdsourcing a computer instead of a person. It is no difference at all. You just have to be much more specific because it is AI. And in current AI, it is not necessarily creative. It is, a algorithm that actually brings things and ideas and concepts that are already written, right? It basically goes out in the library and grabs all the snippets and rephrases them for you. So you have to be specific in what you want, or which I've done intentionally at AI, is let's make AI come up with just something out insane that doesn't make any sense. But you can get really, really good with it. I've had it do patent templates for me, right? Give me a patent template that has to do with electrical and X and X and X and X, and then take that and convert it into a real one. So you can do it, but you're right. You have to play with it. You have to understand it. You have to figure out where the fit, because there are fail points in it for sure. And I'm sure you've ran into that, Matt. And you have to figure out those, and then what you can actually output. I mean, I've paid marketing people before. I can get better output in 20 seconds than something I hired a marketing person to do for 6 months. So you can do it. I think all integrators, integration companies could do it, because we know that 80% of our CEDIA members are what? They're small companies. A lot of one-man bands when it comes to back of the office. This takes some of that stress off of them. I mean, you could do everything like you said, from SEO to doing a financial template, to doing a business plan, to doing a marketing execution strategy plan. You can do all these and still be that one-man band and basically have 8 other staff members that are a lot faster and a lot more intricate than somebody that you would typically hire.
Mitch, when you look at this, how do you go about, or is there a roadmap to ensuring success with AI to the point where anything that's customer facing doesn't look or sound like it's AI?
Yeah, well, first of all, what Joe's talking about, you got to be careful on copyright as well, because it's never clear, depending on what chat you're using, whether or not you're literally copying someone else's work. Yeah. So you want to be very careful about that. So just changing a word here or there isn't going to suffice to avoid that challenge. Sorry, what was your question?
Essentially, an extension of that. How do you get or is there a roadmap or a best practice to try and ensure that whatever you're doing doesn't just look like, you typed, hey, sell speakers to an affluent customer in Ontario?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but intelligence is required on the user as well to be able to even understand what it is that's being written. AI is not a substitute for intelligence, so you really got to be careful and you got to obviously read it. What I love is you need to learn a whole new language that we're calling prompt engineering, right? As Joe says, you have to be extremely specific in terms of what it is you're looking for an outcome. Otherwise, you could spend hours just getting the wrong stuff coming back. But you know what? Keep on it, try it, use it, and you will learn. But like I said, you have to be able to edit what it is that ChatGPT is giving you in order to make it your own. Use it more as an outline than saying this is exactly what I'm going to turn in. I was dinner with some friends, I think about 2 weeks ago. Well, one of the women is a teacher. She doesn't even give them homework to go home with, literally, because she knows these kids, they're smart enough to know they don't have to do their homework. They literally can just that night just have ChatGPT do it, So anyway, but I digress. I think AI is very helpful. I think it's definitely at this point overused. Expectations, I think, don't necessarily align with the results of what you're going to get from AI.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'll close it off with this. 2 things. One, don't copy paste, whether it's graphics, text, whatever. Just because you plugged it in, as Mitch and Joe kind of said, take that as an outline and then put it in your own words until you can train something to speak like you, which unless you've got 457 episodes, you don't have the content out there to do it.
My dog does. She's pretty good at it.
Yeah, exactly. Secondly, remember and look at whatever model you're using to find out how current it is, because people forget that the free version of ChatGPT is April 23 right now. So anything you ask it for the last year and a bit, it doesn't have. So you got to be wary of that. All right, gentlemen, thank you both so much for joining us. Mitch, if people want to connect with you, learn more about CEDIA, where can they do that?
They can come to CEDIA, come to the website, or you can email me, mklein@cedia.org.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Mr. Whitaker, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Origin, where can they do that?
You can find me on all the socials at Joe Whitaker, except for Facebook. I had a massive hack, so I haven't been there in a while. You can also just email me directly, joe@originacoustics.com. And if you're going to be at ISE and you want to hang out a little bit, just email me. I'll make some time for you. So
I want to hang out a little bit.
I'm done. It's done.
No, you got to email them.
No,
you just said it.
Mitch,
what was that email again?
All right. Thank you again for joining us. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Twitter, X, and most other platforms at Matt D. Scott. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek,
the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is Erin Marmoran of EdTech. The world of higher ed AV is growing rapidly. That's why each month we hear from the best and brightest from colleges and universities all over the U.S. Check out EdTech on avnation.tv or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.